What is up, RotoGrinders? 2 hours nonstop NBA DFS conversation starts right now. It's a big boy slate. We're not messing around. DK and FanDuel, they both want us to talk about the Jazz. The Jazz is the last game of the night. 9 o'clock on the East Coast. Wait, I think it's the last game. Now I was thrown off because I was listening to my voice talk to myself, and that was kind of weird. I don't know if you guys heard that or not, but a little bit flustered. That is not the last game. The last game was the back half of the ESPN doubleheader. That is San Antonio and Houston. But yeah, scary words, especially for people on the projection teams, like Kyle Murray, Utah Jazz, back half of a back-to-back, and one of the later games in the slate. So that's a lot of fun. Two teams play the back half of a back-to-back, not just Utah, but New York as well. A pile of teams, front half. Atlanta, Charlotte, Chicago, Dallas, Houston, Miami, Minnesota, all on the front half of a back-to-back. It's a 9-game slate. Lots of body parts to monitor as well. Jarris Walker is questionable, which is somewhat meaningful, I think, on this slate. A lot of stuff still up for debate. We mentioned New York. Josh Hart is questionable as of right now. CMB, Murray Boyles is questionable. We officially got some news on Miami. Davion Mitchell, we're assuming he's out. He's officially doubtful. Khalil Ware, also questionable. They're without Tyler Hero already, so Miami could get thinner. The big one is Cooper Flagg. That's one of the bigger ones as far as in-out questionable. It's a later game as well, 8:30 on the slate. Not just Flagg, but Klay Thompson is questionable as well. And I mentioned Utah. They currently have Yusuf Nurkic, who's questionable with his illness. What is it about Utah, Kyle? Like, I feel like if you live in Seattle or if you live in Alabama, you get ill, you're better in a day or two, maybe 3 days, 4 days possibly. Something about living in Utah, if you get ill, like that's like 2 weeks. You get 2 weeks of illness. But
that's called the tanking flu. It's a different thing going around on these specific parts of the country these days.
The different strand of the flu. How are things, Kyle? 9-gamer. I always ask you this. I think you're off on projections during Wednesday. That would be cruel for them to throw you in the show and have you be on projections with a 9-gamer. But you're off projections tonight. Is that correct?
Yep, tonight is my off night projection. So spending it here talking some hoops with you guys.
Yeah, 9-gamer. I mentioned the back half of the ESPN doubleheader, San Antonio, Houston. We did lose Steven Adams for the season. That's a bummer for the Rockets. Not terribly relevant for DFS, but relevant for the Rockets, I think. Steven Adams is a useful player, helping, as far as just helping you win. A good role player for them. No Steven Adams, he's donezo for the year. We have LeBron going back home in Cleveland. That is the first game of the ESPN doubleheader, first game on our slate. There are 2 games in the 7 o'clock window. You have any general thoughts what we're looking at as far as body parts who we're monitoring? I was looking at the if-then stuff. Dallas can certainly open up if we lose Cooper Flagg, and I think we're currently projecting Nurkic in for Utah. And I'm just floored that Lauri Markkanen is on the back half of a back-to-back. Lauri Markkanen just coming over the Utah flu, and he's not on the injury report. Like, I thought for sure against a team that's not very good, and like we know the formula of Golden State, the severity of your illness, the severity of your injury is heavily dependent upon how good your opponent is. And they're facing Golden State, who's just not that great, not that great these days. But that's not great being the last game of the night. But did you think Nurkic plays? Because I think he's an awesome play if he plays, but I just don't really know. I have no idea. My lean is no, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to trust it. I think one of the last few times I did a show with you, we had this pretty similar Jazz scenario where a couple of the guys weren't even on the injury report, and they ended up Nurkic might have been questionable, and maybe Markkanen was off the report after a back-to-back. So very similar to this. But I feel like it's tough to at least have any confidence in them playing here. I was very surprised Markkanen was off the report last night when I did projections. Yeah. I left him out. I thought he would come in and be doubtful on the second half of back-to-back. Hasn't played for a couple of weeks. Was fairly limited minutes-wise last night. So I would still be surprised if they played, and I still think it's tough to trust them playing. But to your point, if they do play and you get to a spot where maybe you can pivot to them later on in the slate, could have some solid leverage there. But at least right now, it's very difficult to have confidence there.
Speaking of illness, this is a late downgrade. Just got Jalen Brunson downgraded to questionable. He had the poutine in Toronto. They're already down. Well, Josh Hart is questionable. They're down McBride. They're down Mitrob. They might just flat out punt this game off. I don't know. It's could be trouble.
Maybe they're trading Brunson for Giannis straight up.
Is that? I mean, I haven't been. I'm down here in South Florida, and everybody here. Oh yeah, we're gonna get Giannis. Of course we are. Give him a Hero and Ware and Wiggins and a 2030 pick or something. There you go. And then he's got nobody to play with here in Miami, but he'll be here. Is that something that people are? Every team, I'm sure, has their own sort of. This is how we get Giannis scenario. Because it feels like he's going to be leaving, probably, if not now. Isn't?
Yeah, it certainly feels that way. I would say Brunson's probably not going to be a part of that package, but I mean, if that's what it is to get Giannis, I would rather have Giannis on my team than Jalen Brunson. But I thought it was funny because there was a tweet going like I wouldn't say viral, but it was trending earlier when they ruled all of McBride, Hart, Robinson questionable. They were like, oh, this could be the Giannis package or part of it. I think it would more likely be a cat centered package there for New York. But yeah, I think some of these are going to get out of hand quick. I've seen the Detroit one where it's like Jaden Ivey, Ron Holland, Tobias Harris. I'm like, wake me up if that happens, because that would be an absolute,
no offense, but nobody wants any of that.
That would be an absolute dream. I mean, I do think like you could sell a Ron Holland piece to a team, but he certainly isn't going to be anything that's bringing Giannis here. But that would be a miracle. I do think that right now the Knicks are probably most likely to land him, but
I thought it was Miami
or the Heat. Yeah, I would probably say one of those two teams. I just think that the Knicks have more firepower, especially if they can trade Cat. I just think they have the better package to offer, but Miami's probably the favorite destination for them, I guess, at this point.
We got to get into the slate, but like I would just bet on maybe Ware, just the youth of Ware. Cat, you sort of know what he is, and if Cat is on Milwaukee and there's no Giannis, like that team is going nowhere, and he's like 29 or whatever. Like he is what he is. He's fine.
Yeah,
that
would be fun for fantasy if that happened, though.
Oh, for sure, 100%. Yeah, Miles Turner would be unleashed for a day in the middle of the trade, I suppose. But it's tough for Milwaukee. I understand why they took their swings. They took their swing with Lillard and just didn't work out. By the way, producer Steve, let's test this fandom. Would you take Giannis for Jalen Brunson? Well, let's test producer Steve.
Ooh, that one's fun.
Fandom. Like, come on, you have to say yeah. Okay.
Yes. How old is Giannis? He just turned 30.
31.
He just turned 30. Yeah, I would take him straight
31, up. Yeah. He will be 32 in December. Or no, never mind. He just turned 31, yeah.
Yeah, I'll take him straight up.
Agreed.
Chad saying Ware for Giannis. Well, no, not just Ware, obviously, but he would be he's at least a young player that you can tell yourself a story and say he's got a ceiling. Like you can't tell a story on Cat. He just is what he's better than Ware right now, of course, but Ware, you can tell the story that like he could be, somebody takes a step. He's still really young, really raw. But yeah, I'm not delusional to think that that's just straight up. That's not what I'm saying. Okay, let's do it. Let's dive in. Let's talk about tonight's slate: the Lakers and the Cavs. Cavs are 3.5-point favorites in Los Angeles. Peeking at the injury report, which you had to, if you went on NBA.com and you're trying to find the injury report, like the last thing you can get is 9:45. Napster man taught me how to figure that. You got to type in. You actually got to type the actual times into the. I don't know if you figured this out or not, Kyle, or if you've taken the step, but yeah. So I have the most accurate injury report. Well, actually, one's coming in right now at 5:15, but I assume nothing has really changed. We thought there was a chance that Austin Reeves was going to play tonight. Shams, I believe, tweeted it and then deleted it. But soon Austin Reeves, but not tonight. He's still out for the Lakers. As far as Cleveland, Garland's out. The big one here is that not just Garland, but now Evan Mobley. Mobley's got a calf, so he's not playing basketball. Two key players for the Cavaliers. Hunter is available. He's also available for trade, allegedly, because he's not great. And Strus is still out. Nothing new there. Merrill is available. He's probable with his hand. We're expecting Porter to start alongside Mitchell, Tyson, Wade, and Allen. Do you think Porter starts? You got to have somebody starting here. That's what I see in our starting lineup. I wasn't really thinking that necessarily, but I was thinking maybe Tomlin, but maybe it is Porter.
Yeah, I think it'll be either Porter or Sam Merrill starting.
Okay.
They have started Porter at times, and he won't typically play like regular starter minutes because they're perfectly fine having Donovan Mitchell play point guard. So I would guess Porter, but not necessarily elite starter minutes, or Sam Merrill. The only reason why I would say probably not Tomlin is because I do think that they're going to want to maybe stagger him and Allen a little bit more at times now with no Mobley. But
Yeah.
other than that, that's why I lean either Porter or Sam Merrill.
Yeah, there might be times this game goes small as well too, because I'm sure you've seen how bad dominating, who's done none of that. DeAndre Ayton's been pretty horrendous of late. He's been getting hooked. Jackson Hayes been taking his spots, and maybe they just go smaller in when Allen's not on the court. Curious to see how that plays out. Luka is just outrageous. He's unreal. He's absurd, and he could any sort of adjective you want. Of course, you want Luka, but we do live in the world of a salary cap. How much are you prioritizing Luka? Do we have the salary savers? Are you comfortable enough with the ones that it kind of sort of takes to get him in your lineup? Because Luka's fantastic, and LeBron's fine too. He's a perfectly fine consolation prize if you're considering like stacking this game up. You can't quite get the Luka. A little bit of revenge there. I love Luka, but I don't know if I'm getting there because salary is a thing, and I don't know how much I love the salary savers right now. This can change. It's all fluid. But where are you at as far as Luka, LeBron, and I guess that we just got to blow right past Donovan Mitchell, who's one of the best plays on the slate as well, in the absence of Mobley and Garland.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I love Luka, and playing him at low ownership is always enticing, even in a matchup that it's not the best matchup in the world, but it's still a pace-up spot for the Lakers. So if you can get to him, I have no problem with it. The only issue that I do have is not with him; it's the fact that you have like 3 or 4 guys in this 9K range that I wouldn't say they have the same ceiling, but I think they're very, very strong plays. So it's just a little bit easier to fit those guys in, and headlined by Donovan Mitchell, who's probably my favorite play in this game. Love him in this spot. So that's kind of where I'm at with Luka. Certainly not a bad play. I think and it's even more appealing because of that lower ownership, but it's just that tier below those guys with that 3K difference or 2K difference to 3K and salary relief. It makes it a little bit easier to build around those 3 guys, Mitchell being one of them in that 9K range.
When we take those 2 players off the court, talking about Mobley, talking about Garland, Mitchell averages 1.54 fantasy points per minute, DK and FanDuel, 38.4% usage. That's just elite numbers. Doesn't hurt that the game's on ESPN. You get a little bit longer breather. I can see, we're giving Mitchell 36 minutes. I can see a scenario where he plays 37, 38, 39, if necessary. And the same thing with the Lakers, same thing with Luka. We're giving him 38. There's a scenario where he plays 40, I think. But you really can't project 40 as a median number. You know this. Beyond the stars, I kind of like Tyson. I wish he was cheaper. He's another guy that benefits if you look at the on-off stuff. 6'6" now. Is there still meat in that bone for Jalen Tyson at 6'6" on DK?
I mean, I think he's fine for tournaments. He's probably not a guy that I'm, really building around just because of that price. I still think that he's a perfectly fine option, but not necessarily someone I'm still excited about. I think he'd probably be my 3rd favorite Cavalier player. I think I probably even like Jared Allen a little bit more. I mean, I bet Jalen Tyson's over on his props early this morning, so I don't dislike him by any means, but I think just the price, kind of to your point, is maybe kind of maxed out a little bit here. And again, just preferring Mitchell and Allen on his own team.
You bet PRA or something specific?
It was just points today, but I have been liking his PRA. Last game it was PRA, and he got there because he had like a 9 rebound performance. Didn't even do that while scoring, but yeah, he can certainly fill up the stat sheet. But today it was just the points. Should
mention, by the way, as far as Tyson, if you're playing both DK and FanDuel, much better play on FanDuel. He's 6'6" on DK, 6'1", 6'1" on FanDuel. It's a kind of a bargain over there. Should play 30 plus minutes. I mentioned the name Porter. Is he somebody that's in your pool?
It's going to probably depend on starting. I know I said that if he starts, he's probably still not someone that is going to play like 28 plus minutes, but I just think that he's quite volatile right now because we've seen, Lonzo Ball and Tyrese Proctor both kind of be up and down in terms of minutes. Hunter's coming back, Merrill's coming back. So I think there's some volatility with Porter. If he's not starting, it's really up in the air he could play as few as like 17 or 18 minutes if he's not starting. So if he's starting, he'd probably enter at least the the discussion, but if he's not starting, it's probably a no-go for me.
We're giving Lonzo 6 minutes, man. He's like so buried.
And he could easily play 0.
6 minutes, no Garland, 6 minutes. That's pretty buried. Okay. Yeah. Anything else here as far as Lakers, Cleveland?
I mean, if you're not playing Luka, I do think that LeBron is just a naturally solid pivot. Obviously, there's going to be the narrative of him going back to Cleveland for whatever that's worth. I don't know if it's worth too much, but nonetheless, if you're not playing Luka, you're automatically hoping that he has a less than massive game. And if that doesn't happen, then LeBron probably benefits in that regard. So it just makes at least some sense to at least consider it a little bit. But even in that game theory thought, I still like some of these other guys in the 9K range a little bit more. But that's the reason why I would at least want to touch on LeBron.
Just got news that Jarris Walker has that foot. He's available to play with his foot. That is the next game, Chicago at the Pacers. Right out the gate, like I don't like it. As general rule, you probably hear me not complain, but I just don't like to load up on the early games, but I like the early games. I like Lakers, Cavs. I like this game a lot as well. That's Chicago and the Pacers, 235.5 is the total. High and tight. Chicago is a 3-point favorite here at Indiana. Just got Walker ruled in, who's been getting a lot more run of late. Otherwise, nothing new here for Indiana. Chicago, nothing new either. Well, Trey Jones is still out. Zach Collins is still out. We've seen the minutes for Giddey, 27, 28. Do you think they're going to tell us when he gets a bump? It's just going to sort of happen? Is he just maybe we just know if he starts in the starting lineup, which we haven't seen either. We're still projecting him to not start as of right now. Pascal has been one of the most consistent players as of late. Pascal Siakam, you got to pay for him for sure. But I had this note here. 7 straight games, I want to say it is? Yeah, 7 straight games. He's played at least 33 minutes, and he scored at least 21 points. And it's probably not going to slow down against the Bulls, which is just a spectacular matchup. How are we feeling about the Pacers and Chicago?
Yeah, this is a really good game environment. Both teams in the top 12 in terms of pace. Gives us a high total, tight spread. So looks pretty good from a game environment layout. I do like the Siakam call. Again, I think it's a little bit tough to play in because there's just so many good plays in that range. But, we have him at 16% projected ownership right now. I wouldn't mind being over that in 150 build. Do like him quite a bit, like his upside. Another guy that I took the over on one of his props early this morning. So certainly like him. McConnell is in the pool as a value option. I believe he's the same price on DraftKings as Craig Porter. You can make a real case that they end up playing the same minutes. So if Porter ends up being significantly more popular, maybe he starts. I would not mind pivoting to McConnell over Porter Jr. as like a tournament play, especially if you are trying to fit Luka into your builds. Those are probably my 2 favorite options on the Pacers. Again, worth noting, they continue to do a lot of weird things with their starting lineup. Could see them maybe change up their starting lineup a little bit here with Vooch on the other side. Maybe they want to get a bigger, more traditional 5 in the starting lineup compared to they've been running out Walker and Siakam as their bigs lately. So worth noting, confirm that starting lineup. And then on the Chicago side, it's a great point about Giddey. We have been getting some reports on these guys, like Kobe White and Trey Jones have been on limits for a majority of the year, and they've been pretty vocal about getting the reports on that out. I haven't seen anything on Giddey yet. It could be a good time to bet on that, though. Again, if a game stays close, naturally guys could be pushed past their limit a little bit. And at 7-8, even if Giddey only plays 29, 30 minutes, he can easily still be a guy who projects for 5x his salary. So at 7-8, don't mind Josh Giddey. If they do roll out the smaller starting lineup, I like Vooch quite a bit. I don't think there's anyone that really stop him regardless, even if they do start a Potter or maybe Isaiah Jackson or whoever, maybe Jay Huff gets back in the starting lineup, whoever they want to go with. But Vooch I do have some interest in as a tournament play. Probably can't prioritize him just because, again, the salary of guys in that 9K range that I'm prioritizing so much, but certainly worth mentioning. And then tournament plays, Jalen Smith, 6'2", kind of priced up to a point where that's kind of his ceiling. But he's certainly a guy who can get it done on a permanent basis. And same with Buzelis, 2 guys that I would probably have interest in 50-plus lineups, but probably not in core builds.
You mentioned Jalen Smith. We talked about as far as Cleveland, Tyson, how he's a much better player on FanDuel. Same deal with Jalen Smith. Jalen Smith is 5'6" on FanDuel, which is a really, really good price. I think he's if he draws the start, I think he's in consideration for cash games. It is a revenge game for him too. The other revenge game is Tony Bradley. You mentioned all the bigs for the Pacers. I think you ignored Tony Bradley. How dare you? He's insulting.
I sure did. I sure did. And that was intentional. Unless he starts, even if he does, it's hard to trust anybody with what they are doing with their bigs right now. But yeah, definitely ignored him.
There's a non-zero chance he starts. I'm not saying he's starting, but there's a non-zero chance he starts, Tony Bradley.
He could start and still only play like 6 minutes.
100%. I just don't like playing Pacer center roulette. It's just nonsense.
Yeah.
Do we think Walker is real? Like, is he going to keep playing 30 minutes? Is this going to be consistent? You do the projections. You try to figure out rotations, and this is probably it's got to be on the Family Feud board of toughest teams to project day in and day out. I imagine.
Oh yeah.
You know, is Walker going to stick? Is he going to play 30 minutes? And if he does, I think he's playable at the price he's at.
Yeah, I think so. Last night when I did the projections, I think I went with 29 minutes, and we ended up coming down a little bit just to hedge for him potentially not starting, because I do think that is a very real possibility with Vooch on the other side. Maybe again they want to start a bigger true five, but if he starts again, I think it's certainly not safe, because nobody is safe with this Pacers team, because again, like Walker could start and they could realize that they need a bigger guy out there. I mean, Huff and Bradley, I think they both combined for like 5 minutes last game. Those guys could easily come out and play like 18 minutes if they need a true center out there. So it's certainly volatile, but if he does start again, I would feel better about it. But still a risky play there, even at the 5.2 price tag.
This stuff is fluid. This stuff will change. We currently have Walker at 17% on DK, the most popular play in this game. We got Pascal at 16. I love him. If that's anywhere near correct, I think that's going to change. But I think 16% is a really, really good number. 8.8 on DK. And again, I'm going to say it, broken record, 8.5 on FanDuel for Pascal is really strong. I think it's a really good play.
Yeah, for what it's worth, I actually don't think he'll be much more popular than 15 or 16%, because we talked about Mitchell, talked about LeBron a little bit. There's so many guys in that 9K range to where even if you build a lineup with 3 or 4 of those guys, the public could easily prefer those guys rather than Siakam. So I do think he could be a pretty low-owned option.
Can I tell you how much I hate the names that are like, I'm jumping away from this game. I'm looking at the entire board on DK. The names that are like projected to be most popular on a 9-game slate. And tell me when you're excited about a name. Al Horford is the most popular player right now, currently projected on DK. He's playing the Jazz and expected to play 23 minutes. He's got a good floor, if nothing else. Yeah. Drew Smith for Miami. That's the second most popular player that we currently have projected on DK. Steph Curry, of course. Yeah. Steph Curry against Utah. Like, he can drop 40 points in the bucket. Like, okay, yeah, that's the Jazz. That's kind of what's supposed to happen. Dean Wade. Like, again, did we even mention Dean Wade? They'll need him to guard LeBron, I imagine. So he's going to play a bunch of minutes. Tomlin is coming in. The point is, like, I don't like the popular players right now. I understand salary cap concerns, and I'm probably going to end up playing one of these guys, I think, and hold my nose. Are you with me, though? Like, does that sound like a gross collect? I can keep going. Brandon Williams, Brandon Williams can really open up if Flag doesn't play. Like, I think he'll just flat out really, really pop. Kind of hard. I don't want to say hard to ignore, but kind of hard to ignore if we lose Flag and Thompson. I know there's an if-then setup of that look really, really appealing for him. But do you kind of sort of agree that, like, the collection of just generally the salary savers, certainly for a 9-gamer, they're not amazing? I thought they'd be better for now.
Yeah, I would agree. I think of all those guys you mentioned, like, I still think, like, even a guy like TJ McConnell is a more appealing pivot, because he's going to be a fraction of the ownership on some of those guys. And although he's not going to project for as, the same amount of minutes as some of these guys, none of these guys are really safe from a minutes perspective. I guess Dean Wade is probably the safest minutes projection guy. But I do agree, Brandon Williams could become very chalky very fast, depending on how this news shakes out.
And when we get that news, who knows when we're going to get it? But and it might be worth waiting because that's an 8:30 game, I believe. 8 o'clock. No, I was right the first time. 8:30, and maybe we get the first inkling of news at 7 o'clock. And that's kind of one of the tricky conundrums I have for the slate is I like these early games, but I think I'm supposed to probably leave the light on for Brandon Williams just in case. And when are we going to get that news? I don't know. Anything else here as far as Chicago and Indiana?
No, I'm good here.
That's the 7 o'clock block. Do you want to say what's up to chat? Chat, hit that like button. join the conversation. Do subscribe, turn those notifications, do all those things to help us keep the lights on. You see producer Steve is showing off Lineup HQ. You can get access to Lineup HQ. Get yourself some RG Premium. I just do want to mention Pick Labs. Pick Labs. It's the newest RotoGrinders feature that lets you scan the best player prop and pick 'em bets in just seconds. Everything is broken down for you. You got edges, you got win rates, you got value, clean board you're looking at, which plays that stand out across sportsbooks and sites like Underdog, as well as Prize Picks. When you see something you like, Pick Labs is going to go ahead and build that slip for you, and it sends it straight to your book. Just a click. You got it all set up there on your sports book, your Underdog, your Prize Picks of choice. Where do you get all the goods? You get it at rotogrinders.com/picklabs. rotogrinders.com/picklabs. Next game, 7:30, Atlanta taking on Boston. It's another one that's pretty high, and it's fairly tight, reasonably tight. Boston is a 7-point favorite here, 232.5. That is the total here, Kyle. Next game up here in the 7:30 block. Boston is very healthy with the exception of Queta. Queta is out with his illness, but Luka Garza is back. We are expecting Amari Williams to draw the start for what it's worth. This is another one that's a lot of fun to figure out. The Boston big roulette, right? What are they going to do with that fifth man? Atlanta, we have Porzingis. He's still out with that Achilles. Ricochet's got that knee, so he's not playing basketball. Newell is in the G League, so he's unavailable. How are we feeling about the Hawks and the C's?
Yeah, I like this game quite a bit for a lot of the reasons that you mentioned. Love Jaylen Brown in this spot. I think he is just far too low owned. And I know it's partially because of just picking and choosing the guys in this, 8.5 to 10K range. But if we're going to get him sub 15%, I love him in this spot. He's coming off of a down game. So I think it's a great bounce back spot. His usage has just been massive. And I know that, we've seen some games recently with no Derek White, no Pritchard at times, but I love Jaylen Brown in the spot. He's one of my favorite plays on the board. If you're not playing Jaylen Brown, I think you should have interest in either Pritchard or Derek White. I think certainly that we're going to get some good production from these guys. Obviously, Queta being out doesn't necessarily help them, but it's just a great matchup. Hawks third in pace, so it's a massive pace up spot for Boston, who's dead last in terms of pace. So that's a huge upgrade in terms of expected volume and just opportunities across the board for all these guys. So probably not going crazy and playing multiple of Brown, White, or Pritchard, but I certainly like at least one of them. And then I know Simons might get some love across the board just because he's sub 5K. He's at 4.9 on DraftKings, but I think he's a good play. I don't love that he's popular, but 25, 26 minutes, he's been pretty consistent about that. So I think he's a fine option. We'll see how the starting lineup shakes out. I think right now we're projecting Amari Williams to start, but either way, if it's him or Garza, I think you can make a case that the minutes don't really matter too much. Like they're probably going to be, pretty similar from a minutes perspective. I prefer Garza, especially if he starts. He's just a better permanent guy. We've seen him get it done more consistently over the course of his career. I think he has a more scoring upside. So if Garza starts, I think he's a good option. If he doesn't start, I think he's probably going to go overlooked. And I would rather play Luka Garza than Al Horford right now at current ownership, where he's a fraction of Al Horford's projected ownership right now. I'll take Luka Garza there for what it's worth. Lots of volatility. We've seen him start at times and only play 15 or 16 minutes. So he's not a lock to play a bunch, but I do like him quite a bit in tournaments. And then on the other side, not really getting to a ton of Atlanta options. I think you can play Jalen Johnson in tournaments if you're not playing Jaylen Brown. But if I'm playing a guy who's 10K in this game, I'm taking Jaylen Brown in this spot.
Looking at our minutes projection, by the way, being told here by chat, more specifically being told by Butto in chat that apparently it's not just Amari Williams' birthday, but it's Pritchard's birthday. Both celebrating a birthday today. How about that? The breakdown we're given is Amari Williams 22, Garza 20. Yeah, and Garza, the better fantasy point better player as well. And then we're also giving 2 hedge minutes to Xavier Tillman. Like they can dust him off as well. It's just so tricky. Like, does one of those guys play enough to be useful? You're saying if it's going to be one, it's going to be Garza amongst the two, Williams and Garza.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably rather play Garza, but if Williams is starting, he's certainly the safer option from a minutes perspective. But I think that there's a world where even if Williams starts and plays 22, 23 minutes and Garza plays 18 or 19, I think that there's still a good chance that Garza is the higher scoring option, playing with less high usage players at times and just being a better permanent player. So I think right now it would take a pretty significant minutes gap to not prefer Garza for me, and I don't think that we're going to get that.
Chad was asking how we feel about skipping the first 2 games. That's the conundrum for me, because I don't feel good about skipping the first 2 games, but I also want to have spots remaining if news warrants that, like, all of a sudden I got to make a panic move. Do you feel comfortable skipping the first 2 games? I don't.
No, not really. I mean, there's certain guys I don't mind fading, but in terms of full on skipping them, pretty difficult for me right now.
Gregorius the Wise asked in chat, I was kind of running down the cheap stuff and like the popular plays as of right now. How would you feel about, as a strategy, Xing out Smith, Horford, Wade, and Tomlin? Yeah, if you're running it, are you okay playing none of those guys as far as the cheapies? Wade, Tomlin, that is, I assume that's Drew Smith he's talking about, and then Al Horford. You okay playing none of those guys? And I guess if you're playing 100 lineups, I wouldn't X them all out, I don't think. But like if you're playing 10 or 5 or 2 or 1, are you okay not playing any of those cheapies?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's a lot of really decent pivots in that range as well. And again, like even if Horford and Smith, even if you don't find a pivot around those guys that have great games, I don't think that those guys are locks to perform well, even if they get more minutes than some of these guys that would be your potential pivots. So like I mentioned, I would rather play Luka Garza right now than Al Horford. I would probably rather play TJ McConnell than Drew Smith with ownership. We'll see how popular Smith ends up actually getting. But I don't mind that strategy at all. And I would rather play Tomlin than Dean Wade. I know Tomlin was in that grouping, but I don't have really any interest in Dean Wade any night. But so I don't mind crossing him off at all.
Yeah, I mean, the obvious issue with McConnell is just you're begging for 20 minutes. Like, you're begging for 20. You probably won't get it. You might get close, so you'll get close. But of course, he's he does a lot of things when he's out there, and he's not that expensive. All right. You got anything else as far as Atlanta and Boston? Sounds like you're in on Brown, certainly Pritchard, White. They project pretty well. And if you want to get a little bit goofy, Garza. And you talk about Simons. Yeah, Simons was one of those guys that I tend to want to play if I'm going to play him when other people aren't. I don't like his sort of like just kind of his what he does. Comes off the bench and he's got to score. I don't like those kind of players when they're popular. And I think he's like 15-20% or so, something like that. So, doesn't mean you can't play him, but
I think he's fine. There's just a guy who's in that same price range that I just like a lot more. So I'm probably just going to prioritize that guy in a later game that we'll get to over Simons.
Battle of Florida down here in Miami. 231.5 is a total. Miami is a 3.5 point favorite versus the Magic. As far as who is in and out for this one, well, Orlando is fully healthy with the exception of Franz Wagner. Franz Wagner, I guess he came back too soon there with that ankle. He wanted to play overseas. He's out with his ankle. Hero, he's got ribs. He's in the trade block. He's unavailable. He's not playing tonight. Miami does put a lot of guys in there that are available. Probable. It's weird. What's the difference in available and probable? I don't know what do you know the official difference? Because Jaime Jaquez is available. Pelly Larson available. Norm Powell probable. There's got to be a difference. What's the difference, Kyle? Do you know?
Probable, I would say, is just like 95% likely to play, or 90, and then available is just good to go.
Okay. Yeah, all right, fair enough. I guess that makes sense. David Mitchell, doubtful. We're assuming he's not going to play tonight. Midday downgrade to doubtful. He's got that shoulder. Kalel Ware, we've not seen him for a bit. He's got a hamstring. He's questionable. Kind of, I guess you can say he's kind of doghoused right now a little bit. Like he's not really crossing over with Bam. He's basically just playing the backup 5 stuff. If he plays, not really anybody you can get to with any level of confidence. Wiggins is available too. I think he did not close last game. Was it last game where he didn't close? I was looking at the closing 5 for Miami, which isn't always the most predictable thing when they have all their pieces available. How are we feeling about the Heat and the Magic? And, I kind of mentioned it before. Drew Smith is popping. We're not expecting him to start. He's a terrible shooter. He's a great stealsman. He's a good defensive player. And like when he really gets there, he has like 4 or 5 steals. It kind of feels like bad chalk to me. I don't love it. but I understand why he's projecting well. Talk to me about the Heat and the Magic.
Yeah, unless he starts, I don't think that he's a good chalk at this current ownership. I think if he does start, I feel a little bit better about it. But I mean, the Heat, they like to start somebody who isn't really like an actual starter because they keep Hawkes off the bench. Khalil Ware will get some minutes. Jovic off the bench. Fontecchio's been getting some runs. So whoever this fifth starter ends up being, right now we're not projecting it to even be Drew Smith. They're not a lock to see significant run. And if Smith's not even starting, he's not a lock to play any more than to say a lock for 18 minutes, I think it might even be tough. But I think right now he probably would project for 20 plus minutes pretty easily, but still some volatility there. And like you mentioned, I guess I feel like he can at least produce in other ways than scoring, which I think is good. But I just think that there's better options with higher ceilings in this spot. And I do think he has some volatility to him. So don't mind fading him. He's the best play in this game for me, but it's not a game that I like a whole lot. And I think I would rather look for some pivots than Drew Smith here.
We currently have Smith on FanDuel at 31% and on DK at 37%. Again, this stuff can change. We're only giving him 23 minutes. 23 minutes, about 22 fantasy points, about a fantasy point per minute.
Yeah.
He'll handle the ball a little bit. Not a great shooter, bad three-point shooter, like 30% in the season. He'll make an occasional three. He'll take them, but he's not very good at it. And he'll probably also get wide open shots too out there. Just kind of running through the other options. I see Yakachunas being thrown out there in chats. We're projecting 20 minutes for him. Somebody amongst this nonsense can rise. Yakachunas. Larson's been getting a lot of minutes of late, like minutes in the mid-20s, mid to upper 20s. So maybe he's playable, but it's kind of baked into his price. Jovic can play some backup five if Ware doesn't go, especially. So I think he's a little bit interesting. But I don't really know if I don't want to play Drew Smith. That's kind of where I'm at right now. I might end up doing it begrudgingly, but I don't want to. I think it's a bad idea. And I'm talking about like single entry, smaller field tournaments where like the chalk and the players like him become even more popular. I think he's an interesting fade if he ends up like 40% or 50% in those kind of contests. How you feeling about Orlando? I think we had a pretty good price on Bane. Banchero is excellent, but you got to pay for him, obviously. Thoughts on the Magic?
Yeah, I have Bane projected as the best player on the Magic, but I'm not in love with it. Again, it is a pace-up spot for the Magic. Miami's the fastest team in basketball, but just the price. The price on Bane is fine, but it's a pretty competitive price range, and I would prefer to have a few guys in that 8 to 9K range, and we've even talked about a couple guys that are just a few $100s more than Bane that I would prefer. So while he is my favorite Magic player, it's probably not a spot that I like a whole lot because, again, Miami does play fast, but they also are a very good defensive team. So Bane's probably not my favorite spot.
Yeah, I think it helps that Mitchell's not playing. Mitchell's one of their better defenders. Bane earlier in the year did drop 37 on Miami, which I think ties him for his season high, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 37 versus Miami, 37 versus Chicago, 37 versus Detroit, your Pistons, my Heat. So, yeah, he is not top 37. He's done 3 times against Miami previously, and pretty fair price. The form has not been – it's not been great, for being honest. He's had 5 straight games where he's been pretty underwhelming. But the minutes have been there, 38, 38, 32, 36, 34, 35. He's getting some run, like you said. The up and pace is good. Miami's a good defensive team, but I do think Mitchell's his absence makes the matchup a little bit easier for Desmond Bane. Did you speak on Banchero? It's just hard to get there for me. I'm not going to besmirch. It's just it's a big ticket item, and I'd probably rather play Brown. I'd rather play Steph, right? Just other players I'd rather play that have similar price points. I'd rather play Donovan Mitchell. I'd rather play Pascal, I think, when you consider salary and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think Paulo does have a decent ceiling in this one, but it just comes down to prioritizing that range, and he's just not amongst the top 4, even 5 guys in that price range for me, so just tough to get to him. And then you factor in that you can play Desmond Bane in this same game for $24 less, and I would probably rather take my chances with Bane over Banchero if I was playing a Magic player. So, probably not getting to Paulo too much. He is a scary fade, but probably not getting to him or Bam much in this one.
Just got an update here on Miami. Khalil Ware is officially in and available. This hamstring, David Mitchell, as suspected, was doubtful. Now he's officially out with his shoulder. Norm Powell's got that back. He's playing with his back. He's available. Keepy in chat, shout out Keepy, says, do you explore player props as well? Well, I imagine, Kyle, you probably have some posted today in the old scores and odds, correct? You were on mute, sir.
Whoops, sound the alarms. I don't know if I actually put them in scores and odds, but I tweeted out I think 8 of them this morning at 5 a.m. So yeah, I definitely have some.
All right, we'll have to fire up your Twitter. Hopefully they're not stale anymore. Hopefully they're still legitimately playable lines. But yeah, I've said this before. You're knocking out player projections. You're knocking out player prop selections as well in scores and odds. Me and you were the night owls, 2-3 o'clock in the morning or so. We get those fresh. We get the fresh off the press as far as your favorite plays. Basically, when the lines come out, you're probably one of the first people out there posting. So, all right, Miami, Orlando, we're done. Yes, moving on.
Yep.
New York and Toronto, 221.5 is the total. By the way, we also have tools for player props. I just talked about it. Pick Labs, fire up Pick Labs there, Keepy. I'll go ahead and give you the address one more time. RotoGrinders.com/PickLabs. That'll help point you in the right direction as far as the best player props, as far as, percent chance of winning, how much they're off on our projected number, yada, yada. Okay. New York taking on Toronto. We did get a very late downgrade for Jalen Brunson. Brunson burner, back half of back-to-back in Toronto. 221.5 is the total. Toronto's a 2-point favorite here. So Brunson is now questionable illness, which, you never really know what's going on, but that to me feels like he's probably not playing. They're dropping this right now. Probably not playing. Yeah, we'll see. Josh Hart, back half of back-to-back. He's got an ankle, so he's not playing. Miles McBride not playing. Mitch Rob's not allowed to play back-to-back, so he's not playing. CMB, Murray Boyles might play for Toronto. Jakob Poeltl, still has that back, so he's not playing for the
Boyles is in.
Oh, did that just come on through? I must have just missed it. But
yep,
thank you.
Came in.
Okay, so Boyles is in and good to go. So Toronto is fully healthy with the exception of Poeltl. And again, New York. Yeah, well, what if Brunson doesn't play? I guess we'd all have an if then for that, but we already had stuff, consideration for no Josh Hart. It would have been McBride, but now he's out. What happens if we lose Brunt? Is it Landry Shamet? Is it Kolek? Who gets unleashed here?
Yeah, it would probably be Tyler Kolek season. He'd probably start. This could turn short really quick for the Knicks rotation if him and Hart are both out. Because if this game is close, they could project for a ton of minutes in this spot, especially with McBride out. Because McBride's a guy who they can feel comfortable playing at the 1 or even as a 2 or a 3, and they could do a lot of weird things with him in their rotation. So him being out is actually pretty crucial here. So if Brunson and Hart are both out, obviously Hart, another guy who can play multiple positions, they can do a lot of weird things. But I would expect Kolek to start and likely play a pretty sizable role, not only minutes wise, but also in just from a usage and touches perspective. His assist rate would go up. Looks like we are working on an if then for Brunson and Hart out in the back end right now, and Kolek for 32 minutes. Shamet would go up to 29. And then Clarkson would also be a guy who gets a pretty significant bump. He's been in and out of the rotation, but I think with McBride and Brunson and Hart all out, he would certainly have to play. And we know that when Clarkson's on the floor, he's not going to shy away from shots. So Kolek and Clarkson would probably be the two guys most benefiting from that.
So Clarkson 3-2 and Kolek is 3-1. That that could be. And when are we getting this news? 7 o'clock, right when the first two games are locking. We've seen Kolek when he's been given the opportunity. He's been spectacular. And they would be down to 9, as producer Steve points out. Yeah, I'm counting the bodies right now. If they lose Hart and they lose Brunson, they'll be down to 9. And we're talking about, Diawara, Huckporty, Dancing Bear, Gershon Yabusele. It's bad. It's bad for New York. And who knows? Maybe Brunson plays, maybe Hart plays, and we're overthinking it here. But this is certainly worth planning for. It's certainly worth planning for because the upside, if Brunson and Hart are out, Kolek would project awesome, and Clarkson would project pretty awesome at 3-2. And what? I'm sorry. Did you give a projection on Shamet as well?
I think we had him 29 or 30 minutes.
Man, yeah.
Yeah, 30.
Can you play Kolek if he doesn't start? I assume that question is if we are losing the other guys, right? There's a lot of ifs here. Like if everybody's in, you don't play Kolek, right? If Hart and Brunson are in, you just don't play Kolek. But is that the question? If if Brunson and Hart don't play, doesn't Kolek kind of have to start?
Yeah, he would start. Yeah,
I think he has to start, basically. Yeah. Bridges, OG, Revenge Game, Cat, Kolek, Shamet, something like that. That's probably what it would be, I'm guessing.
Yep, that's where I would have it too.
Yeah. So Toronto, what do you got as far as the Raptors?
Not much. I don't really like the spot for them. Obviously, they're getting a little bit healthier. RJ Barrett's back. Murray Boyles is back. Just kind of shortens up some of these guys' minutes projections. Like Mamu was a guy playing 30+ minutes pretty consistently with Murray Boyles out. That's going to be off the table now. And now he's priced up to $6K. So like a lot of these guys are just kind of priced to a point where not overly interested. The Knicks aren't a great matchup, but I do think that if you obviously take all these guys out, especially Josh Hart, Mitchell Robinson, their defense does get worse. And I do think that with Brunson off the floor, they might play a little faster. But nonetheless, I still don't know if I'm getting to many of these guys. I think the only world where maybe I could talk myself into some of these, spend up options for Toronto are if Brunson and Hart are out and it's a spot where maybe I'm playing Clarkson, Kolek, and, one of Cat or OG and OB and Bridges, and I have like 3 or 4 New York players, maybe I would, talk myself into a Toronto option just to, have a bring back in that game. But as things stand right now, no interest in Toronto.
Yeah, this is definitely a stay tuned game where it can get really interesting really fast, especially on the New York side. And it's really important to know when that news comes out. But again, any tiebreakers, as always, Kyle, a tiebreaker goes to the later game. Tiebreaker goes to the later game unless otherwise notified, and just kind of waiting for news. And we're going to be waiting for news for New York. We're waiting for news for Dallas, waiting for news for Utah, possibly, probably. Okay. Anything else, or we're scooting along?
No, I mean, I will say, though, if you do feel like you feel conviction in Brunson being out, which right now it feels uneasy to say that he's doubtful, but it does feel like maybe it's like 60-40 or maybe 55-45 him being out. And obviously being able to play all these New York values, especially Kolek and Clarkson, that would give you all the opportunity in the world to play Luka. And obviously Luka is going to, lock when the slate locks. So maybe if you wanted to build with a Luka lineup and then using these Knicks value guys, and then worst case scenario, I'll just figure it out. So maybe ensure that you're not locking up too much salary. Maybe even Luka's the only player that you're locking at the 7:00 tip time, and then just giving yourself flexibility. But if you are able to build a Luka plus Knicks lineup, you're going to pretty much be able to get some leverage, because a lot of people, especially if that news comes after 7, people aren't going to be able to go back in time and get Luka in those lineups. They're probably still going to play the New York guys, but maybe not with the best player in the world from a fantasy perspective in those lineups. So worth considering. Obviously, you do bring yourself a lot of risk with that, but at least worth considering from a game theory and leverage perspective.
Gregorius DeWise says, I guarantee Brunson and Hart will be game time decisions. Yeah, they are minus 1,000 game time decisions at 6:00 on the East Coast. You know this, Kyle, right? In 6 minutes, we're getting game time decision for both those guys?
Yeah, most likely, yeah. Unless we somehow get a Shams report, since it is some bigger names, maybe we'll get some insider report on it. But for the most part, if we have to leave it up to the official NBA report, it'll probably come down to the wire.
Hornets are taking on the Grizz. 230.5 is the total. Charlotte, it's high and tight, right? Charlotte's a 2-point favorite here at Memphis as far as who's in and out for this one. Charlotte is very healthy. Nobody really of note of importance. KJ Simpson's in the G League. Plum Dog's hurt with his groin, not playing with it. Memphis, nothing new here. Ja's still out. Ty Jerome is still out. Edey's out. Clark's out. Pippen's out. Charlotte, last 15 games. You know this. I assume you know this. Best offense in basketball. The offensive rating last 15 games. The Charlotte Hornets, better than everybody. And defensively, 5th best team in defense last 15 games. How about that? Also 6th slowest, too, the Charlotte Hornets. Maybe they're not completely, they've been beating some good teams, playing pretty good offensively. Yeah, how do you feel about the Hornets and the Grizzlies tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I do like the Charlotte side. I think it's tough because it feels like a little bit of a spinning wheel of who you actually are going to end up wanting. It does feel like maybe Brandon Miller is the public's favorite option, but you have Con Knipple, who I have had a lot of success playing this year. He's at 6'2", so over $1,000 cheaper than Brandon Miller, even Miles Bridges. I feel like some of the maybe minutes across the industry are maybe factoring in these recent games for Charlotte quite a bit with all these blowouts that they've been having. But you have a lot of guys on this team that aren't playing a lot of minutes. Like LaMelo Ball's pretty limited. Colin Sexton's not really going to play a ton of minutes. Grant Williams is on a minutes limit. So while we're not seeing massive minutes projections from guys like Knipple and Bridges and Miller, if this game stays close to the wire, we could end up looking back on it and being like, yeah, maybe Knipple and that trio should have been like 33, 34-minute projection guys, and therefore we would just be low on them as a whole throughout the industry. But it does get a little bit tough to decipher which one you actually want. I think right now I would prefer Brandon Miller, but maybe a little bit easier to build around Con Knipple. We've talked about a lot of guys who are like 6'2", who don't have like the same sort of safety that Con does have. I mean, his usage hasn't been as great as of late with Miller, LaMelo, and Sexton all playing, but he can certainly get it done across the board. And we know he can get hot from three and, massive pace up spot. Memphis plays at a top 10 pace. So yeah, I like a lot of Charlotte guys. It's more so just deciphering which one I actually prefer.
We're only giving LaMelo 25 minutes. It's the front half of a back-to-back. They're playing Dallas tomorrow.
Yeah.
And they're letting him play a little bit less. So he plays these back-to-backs basically. It's annoying, right? Like, is there any scenario where Ball can jump up and play 31, 32, or we just have to assume it's 25-ish?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's maybe a world where he gets to like 28, but that doesn't feel like a sure thing. And I feel like from a DFS perspective, like he's the guy that I took the over on his points and assists prop today. But from a DFS perspective, I just feel a little bit better about some other guys. And I think bottom line is I would feel better about all three of the other, key Charlotte guys that I mentioned, just because we know that they're going to get more minutes. And if we're talking about maybe if the game stays close, he'll play extra minutes. Same thing goes for all three of those guys as well. So that's kind of where I'm at with LaMelo.
He did play 32 versus Washington in the 24th, but that was an island game. That was he didn't play the game the day previously, didn't play the next day. So yeah, it's tricky, but it's hard to assume he's going to play 30, 31, 32. I guess he can get it done in 26, 27, 28, but certainly a tougher task. Anything else we want to say here as far as Charlotte and Memphis, or shall we move along?
I don't have too much interest in the Memphis side. We are getting some questions about Triple J. I don't necessarily love the spot for him here. I think he also does get a little bit worse with Santi and Landale both back. Rebounding rate will just drop and usage will drop as well. So, and to your point, Charlotte's been pretty good defensively and they've been playing slow. So it's really not that good of a matchup anymore. I mean, on the year, Charlotte's a bottom 10 defensive team, but to your point, last 15, top 10, I believe they are. So yeah, it's not necessarily a great spot anymore. I think that's a big thing that might be going a bit overlooked with, how much teams can change over the course of the year, especially a young team like Charlotte. So not a ton of interest in Triple J for me.
We just got Cody Williams ruled out for Utah.
Yeah.
Are we going to get anything else from Utah? Is that it, Utah? Or are you just going to kind of sprinkle it throughout the night? Is that it?
It will never be easy with Utah. Whatever they can do to make it difficult, they will do. That's for sure.
Yeah. Okay. We did have him projected to start for what it's worth. So the line is saying that they're expecting Brunson to sit and Hart to sit. Apparently, Steve's on the markets right now. And it's funny, I was talking to Steve before the show. I told him I bet against his team, and he said, I bet on New York. So I at least have closing line value. I think I have Toronto at -1.5. And we'll see. What is it at now? Is it like 3.5? What is it?
4.5.
4? Oh, yeah. That's definitely they're telling us. They're telling us without telling us.
Yeah.
So now I'm just gonna build. I'm just gonna build with Kolek in. I think I'm just gonna build with him in, without the news official. I think that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you can get a guy like Luka, and you could probably play Luka and Donovan Mitchell, and then
they're all point guards is the problem.
Yeah, but even if it's just
no, Mitchell's a shooting guard. Sorry, shooting guard Mitchell.
Yeah, and then I mean, obviously you have the util spot and the guard spot, so you can do a couple different things. But obviously the Knicks guys are also guards, so it might get a little tough. But if you can do something like that, again, and then you get the news after 7 on some of these New York players, I don't think many people are going to be able to have the same combination of those early spend ups and the New York guys. The Knicks guys will almost always be popular, even if that news comes after 7. But the combination, I think, could be a little bit more unique than normal, especially because Luka isn't projecting to be very popular as is.
Shamet, small forward eligible. Clarkson, small forward eligible. So you can use the F spots, the small forward spots. Again, we're imagining that those guys will project fairly well, depending on how the lineup comes out. But like 2 of those 3, I think might end up on my lineups. We'll see, because they'll be down to 9. So they kind of, and like 9, including Hukporti and Diawara and Yabusele. So, it'll be a really, really tight 6 or 7, I imagine. Okay. Next game. Let's do it. Crunch time coming out in 15 minutes or so. You have Roth holding it down. Notorious and Kristi will be on taking you home. Minnesota at Dallas, 228.5 is the total. Another game that's kind of dicey as far as who's in, who's out at this point. It's an 8:30 game on the East Coast, hour and a half into the slate. Minnesota, and they've already said Edwards is officially good to go. He's dealing with that maintenance as far as his foot. So Minnesota is fully healthy for all purposes here, for our concern. A couple fringe players don't really matter. Dallas, Cisse is doubtful in the G League, so I assume he's not going to be around. Of course, Anthony Davis is not playing basketball. The big one is Cooper Flagg. Cooper Flagg is questionable with his ankle. I think this is the front half. Yeah, they play Charlotte tomorrow night. This is the front half of a back-to-back for Dallas. Lively's got that foot, so he's not playing. Klay Thompson also questionable, so they can get thinner if they lose both Flagg and Thompson. If they lose Flagg, I think Brandon Williams is the guy that'll be the biggest benefactor as far as bumps here. How you feeling about the T-Wolves and the Mavs?
Yeah, it's definitely not the best game environment. Obviously, both teams pretty good defensively. Dallas does play fast again, but top 10 defensive team. Minnesota, good defensive team, and middle of the pack in terms of pace. I think Ant is fine, but again, that range is so strong. That 9K range, I would prefer Mitchell, would prefer Steph Curry, prefer Jaylen Brown in that range. But I still think Edwards is a decent play at the price. He'd be probably my favorite Minnesota option. I do like Rudy Gobert as well, coming off of his big game against Golden State the other night. 6'4", not sure he's going to get a ton of ownership, so I don't mind Gobert in the spot. And then, for Dallas, obviously it could all change. Right now, Brandon Williams currently projects as the best Dallas play for me, and that's with Flagg projected in. And if you take him and even Klay Thompson out, he would likely get to 28, 29 plus minutes. So if that's the case, he would look really solid here at that 4.9 price tag on DraftKings. So he's mainly my only real interest right now. Maybe I would have some interest in Kristi at 4 or set 5.3 on DraftKings, but would prefer probably Williams still is a better permanent guy, and then some other players in that 5K range that I would prefer over Kristi, even if we are bumping him up minutes wise, because he's already at 32.5 minutes right now. So even if he gets a few more, probably would still prefer some other options. But he's at least would be a better play if those guys are out.
Looking at our if then, you have at least it says you posted this. I'm not sure if it officially was you or not. I know sometimes you don't change the name sometimes, but just not on purpose. Just sort of happens. Flagg and Thompson are both out on our if then. Brandon Williams would play 29 minutes. DK 32 median projection, 31 on FanDuel. He would look really, really good on DK. Solid on FanDuel as well. You mentioned Kristi would get his minutes up to 33, so another one, I guess, a half a minute or so. He would project pretty well, but not like a lock play. Caleb Martin would all of a sudden get dusted off and be one of those fringe cheapies you can consider. But yeah, and Najee Marshall's just brought a price where he should be priced, but he's going to play a ton. 34 would be the projection. Let's see. Anything else here we should say as far as Minnesota and Dallas? I'm kind of with you on Minnesota. Like, I don't really love anybody there. I'm fine with Gobert. I'm fine with Ant. It's just sort of like last man in stuff, but I don't think I'm like zooming in on it. And, they're all sort of priced where they should be. Everybody's healthy. Nobody's probably going to smash the slate on that team. So not my favorite side. I got nothing else as far as Minnesota Dallas. If you want to move along, we can move along.
Yeah, real quick, the Martin play is a good call, especially if he ends up starting again, which I probably would expect him to. If both of those guys are out, it would probably take both of them being out for him to start. But if he does start, I do think he could be a pretty under the radar tournament play.
He went off like 3-1 or so was it a week or two ago?
Yeah.
Now he's 4-1. Like there's still a little bit of meat in that bone again if everybody's out, but not the really, really strong play he was a couple days ago. But okay. I guess it was like 10 days ago. Time is a flat circle. I don't know when it happened, Kyle, but it happened. I swear he had a pretty big game. I think he started actually at 3K with some players being ruled out. You mentioned Rudy Gobert. His former team is taking on the team he just went off against. That's the Jazz. They're at home versus the Warriors. The Warriors are 9-point favorites here. We just got Cody Williams rolled out. They gave him an illness too, so he's not feeling well. I guess he's hanging out with Nurkic and Markkanen too much. Again, Markkanen is not on the injury report, so he came back from his illness, conditioning, all that stuff they gave him, and he played last night. It is the back half of a back-to-back for Utah. I guess at this point we're going to assume he's going to play. Keontae George rested last night. He's not on the injury report, so we're assuming he's available to play as well tonight. They will be down to, let's see, the Jazz they got 11. That includes Nurkic. So that will be 10. Is there anybody else that's questionable on Utah? Cody Williams is out. And Nurkic is questionable. Everybody else officially rolled out. They're resting Kevin Love. He is exhausted. The Warriors, Jimmy Butler, he's got that ACL. He's done for the year, unfortunately. Steph is good to go. Draymond, they say he's good to go with his back. Man, he has projected well so many times, Draymond, and he's going to project well again tonight. Can he just not do that anymore? Like, do we ever see Draymond stealing games? Is that just not happening? And if it does happen, isn't this the team it happens against? I don't know, man. I feel like I played him too many times this year, just getting 23 fantasy points every time, if that. The price has dipped, but rightfully so. And then there's Al Horford, who, projects pretty well, but what really is the ceiling for Al Horford? Can only play, mid-20s against – well, I guess they'll make it easier. That's the other thing. How much does it matter if Nurkic doesn't play? Because, turnstile Filipowski, right? Like any big. If you're a certain height and you're playing the Jazz and Filipowski's playing, like it's you got to play him, right? That's the rules. So how are you feeling about Warriors and the Jazz?
Yeah, I think that's a decent rule, but Horford, he kind of reminds me he's kind of like Brook Lopez at this point. Like, he doesn't really get in the paint too much. He's more of like a perimeter guy, which suits him well at times for this. But he even Quentin Post, he kind of plays the same role where they're more like even perimeter guys, even though they're the 5, which is why you don't see like a ton of elite rebounding rates and stuff like that. I do think Horford is a guy who obviously projects better. His rebound rate does go up with Jimmy Butler off the floor, but in terms of how much I like
that rule. That you're right. That's a great point. You're right. But what about, can Draymond take advantage of that if Filipowski's in the center, in the middle?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I prefer Draymond in the games where I feel like the game's going to stay close, because then you can get 30-plus minutes from Draymond. This one, I mean, we've seen the Warriors play down to competition at times, and obviously they're missing one of their best players with Jimmy Butler, so maybe the game does stay closer. But if it gets a spot where Nurkic is out and obviously Markkanen's off the report right now, so I would assume he's going to play. But if we get any additional news from Utah, the spread's only going to widen, and that would maybe open up some risk from a minutes perspective for Draymond and everybody else on the Warriors. But it certainly is a good matchup, and it's going to be a spot where it should be back and forth quite a bit because Utah plays so fast. But I think it's Draymond does project really well. I would probably say he's my third favorite Warrior. I would say right now D'Anthony Melton's my favorite Warrior, then Steph Curry, then Draymond, and then Al Horford. Horford does project the best amongst those guys, but at 50% ownership, I'll probably pass on Al Horford. I think Horford might even be worse chalk than Drew Smith. I mean, he grades out well, but I just can't get behind it. And especially if Nurk is out, it could turn to a spot where Draymond's playing more at the 5. So yeah, I would actually think that Draymond benefits more from Nurkic being out than Al Horford does.
So it is 47% currently for Horford, but that is going to change significantly in my estimation if this New York stuff happens, right? So I'm not, this is not me advocating saying Horford's a great play. I'm just saying that I'm not anticipating Horford to be 47% because eventually you got to save your salary. And if you're saving salary with spend your salary. But if you're saving it with New York stuff, you don't necessarily need a guy like Horford, right? Because we think that New York's just really going to open up for us. That's kind of what makes sense to us. It seems like Kolek, Shamet, and Clarkson are probably going to be a thing tonight. Nothing official just yet. We didn't even get the game time decision, did we? We got nothing as far as New York. We didn't get a game time decision for Brunson, game time for Hart. They're currently at 11. They could potentially be down to 9. Like we said, or like Steve pointed out, Vegas is telling us that line has moved pretty significantly in favor of Toronto. That it seems like something dicey is happening with New York. And if you're saving salary there a couple times, I don't know if I need Horford. I don't know if I need Drew Smith. I'll say this. We hated Dean Wade in a 7:00 game. Hate him even more. I would in no way would I play him, because you don't want to be locked in on Dean Wade at 7:00 and then all of a sudden New York stuff drops at 7:01. It's like, oh no, what did I do? Okay, one more game to talk about before we hand it off to crunch time. It's the back half of the ESPN doubleheader. San Antonio, Houston, 220.5. Not a very appealing total. Houston's a 4-point favorite. We mentioned earlier, Steven Adams, donezo for the year. That's a bummer for him. Bummer for the Rockets. Other players, as far as body parts, who's in and who's out in this affair. Well, besides Steven Adams, Houston is clean. FEV, nothing new. Freddie VanVleet's got that ACL. Of course, he's unavailable. Jeremy Sohan's questionable with a quad. He's also questionable with a trade, right? Isn't he demanding or requesting, I guess, to be traded because they're not playing him? It doesn't matter if he's questionable or probable or available. Doesn't matter. If he's in the game, something really weird happened. Otherwise, San Antonio is fully healthy. How are we feeling about the Rockets and the Spurs?
Yeah, this will be a great game to turn on and watch. But I don't know if it's one that I'm going to love to watch with DFS players in it. I'm sure we'll get some big minutes for some of these guys, especially on the Houston side. So I wouldn't be surprised to see good games from some of these players. But it's a really bad matchup. I mean, the Spurs have been really elite defensively. They're middle of the pack in terms of pace, but a top 3 or 4 defensive team. I actually think, believe it or not, Şengün might actually have the best matchup, even though he's going to be seeing a lot of Wemby. But if he can work his way around Wemby in the paint, I think he actually has the best matchup of them. And if you look at our archetypes tool, that aligns with that sentiment there. I mean, the Spurs are just so good on the perimeter. I mean, they're Castle and Fox and even Champagny so good defensively that they just wreak havoc on the perimeter. And they have an easier job because, okay, if you get blown by, guess what? You have a 7'5" alien, protecting the rim there. So they have an easier job. But I think Şengün is actually probably my favorite play from Houston. I think he's also just the best player on Houston, so that helps. But again, difficult to play him other than saying, okay, he's going to be 5% or less maybe in some of these contests. So that's the main appeal there. Reed Shepherd, I've seen some talk about in chat, and I know he projects decently.
Yeah,
you can't really play him if this New York news goes the way that we think it's going to. But if it's a spot where Brunson and Hart play and Drew Smith and some of these other, and even Al Horford are the chalk, I wouldn't mind pivoting to Reed Shepherd over a guy like Drew Smith. I think he certainly has the higher ceiling. He can go out there and score 18 plus real points even in 22, 23 minutes. So Shepherd, I wouldn't mind in that scenario. But if the New York news goes the way it seems like it's going right now, very difficult to play him.
He's got to score. He's got to justify staying on the court because he's a defensive liability. But if his shot's on, they'll keep him on there. Like you said, he's got to score 17, 18 real life points to get there. Şengün, the 6th best matchup post bigs against San Antonio, according to the defense versus archetype rule matchup tool that you referenced. They played not too long ago. If I remember this game correctly, Wemby played really, really well in the first half and got shut down in the second half. Houston just locked him down. That might have had something to do with Steven Adams. I don't recall. But Houston did escape with the W. And Şengün in 34 minutes put up 20, 13, and 9. So, and he's going to be asked to do a little bit more in the absence of Adams. I think he's a pool worthy. But like you said, probably a better game just to watch. No real priorities. I'm fine with Tari Eason. I'm fine with Şengün. Probably not getting the Wemby. Probably not happening for me, but not going to discourage it either.
Yeah, I think the best way to approach this game for me, if you want to have a little sweat while watching it, Şengün triple-double. That's the way I would do it.
What is it, like 10-1, 9-1, 12-1? What's the number?
I'm trying to load the best number right now. But yeah, it's probably going to be, looks like it is 10-1 on DraftKings, almost 11-1. That's what I would do.
You got any other funky bets for tonight? I know there's a golf starting tomorrow. I did see Noto posted some stuff on Scores and Odds. You have any golf outrights? Is that something you're going to post, or you're just taking the week off? Nothing you love?
I do have a couple of golf plays that I like. A couple of long shots. I like Garrett Higo and then Chris Goddard as outright plays. And then for a ladder play in the NBA, I like D'Anthony Melton, a points ladder there.
What does it start at? Like 13 or 14? What's the number?
He's plus money at 13.5. I have to see what the best odds currently are, up to like 25-ish. But yeah, right now 13.5 plus money, pretty common across the markets.
How deep would he play into a blowout? I don't think would he fully mop. They have enough guys, right?
He wouldn't play in a blowout, but I actually don't mind guys like Melton in games where there's potential blowout because it doesn't impact his projection much because you're not going to get big minutes from him anyway, and the matchup is just so good to where it kind of you get the increased efficiency on a permanent basis. You
playing him up to 20? Well, what's the ladder? Where are we stopping the ladder? 20? Is that right?
I like it up to 25. I think that's probably where it gets a little juicy. I mean, he's probably only going to play like 22, 23 minutes. So if he can, obviously a point per minute would be pretty wild, but at 25 points, looks like it's 10-1 best number out there on FanDuel right now. So that's probably where I would cut it off, but yeah.
Going to bring in Crunch Time here in just a second, but I do have to ask, Kyle, the people want to know, they're clamoring. They want to know about the Plums. Who's your Plums play tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I think the best way to do it, I think, for me is the New York, like really leaning into that and hoping that the news kind of comes late. But, outside of that, it could change because like Melton would probably be my favorite tournament play. He'd probably be the Plums play, but I probably like him a good amount less if we do end up getting Brunson and Hart out. But right now I'll go with D'Anthony Melton.
All right, let's do it. Let's seamlessly segue to Crunch Time. We have Kristi, we have Noto, we got Roth. Crunch Time right now. What is up, Roth? Happy Wednesday. How are things?
Things are good, man. Excited to be here talking some hoops.
So a lot going on, a lot of moving pieces. We're waiting on New York news. We're waiting on Dallas news. Noto's Jazz, you're not going to believe it, but they're up to some shenanigans possibly. They're doing some things, and you're not going to believe it. They're also the latest game in the slate. Well, second to last, but close enough. Yeah.
I opted out tonight. I kind of saw everything that I'd have to wait for and pay attention to and thought, you know what, take a night off. We'll get back at it tomorrow.
It could. It's definitely a pay attention slate, for sure, 100%. I mean, they all are. I guess they're all pay attention slates, but this one more so than others and going deep into the night as well. Notorious, Noto, how are things?
Things are good. Wednesday. I thought it was like a Tuesday or Monday. I still never know what day of the week it is. But yeah, doing good. How are you guys doing?
Doing all right. Tell the people about the golf show, by the way. Yourself, golf is back in the full swing. Yourself and Cards. You guys are knocking it out on Tuesday nights. Tell them what's going on Tuesdays.
Yeah, 7:15 Eastern. Break down the tournaments every week. We're going to start bringing back the snake draft at the end of the show too. So if you want to watch live, we'll fire those up at the end starting next week. And yeah, Brooks Koepka's back. Looks like Patrick Reed's coming back next year. It's a fun time for golf.
Is Liv kind of fading out? Is that a big picture conversation? It's probably a big question. You need some time to elaborate, but is that kind of a failed experiment? Is that what's happening here?
Yeah, I don't think it ever really took off. But all these guys, now that their contracts are up, they're taking their money and coming back to the PGA Tour. So hopefully we get a couple other big names, Rahm or Bryson, and then I think Liv really has to fold up shop.
But they still get to keep their like $200 million or whatever, right? Like they got paid ridiculous.
As long as they stayed through their contract, yeah.
Nice, amazing.
But they do have to pay a penalty to come back to the PGA Tour.
You got to buy their way back in, basically.
Yeah, it's like a $5 million contribution to charity, and then you miss out on some other stuff. But I mean, when you make $200 million, five's not too bad.
Yeah.
That was Kyle Murray. I was Dean. Hit that like button. Do subscribe. Turn on notifications. Do not go anywhere. You got 40 minutes of Roth and Noto and Kristi Roth, it's all yours.
Good stuff, as always. Welcome to it, ladies and gents. You know the drill. It's crunch time. I got my guy Noto here. We may have Kristi jumping in. That was the game plan, at least. But if I know anything about Noto, he's ready. He's solo. He can put up 100% usage. You got this, right?
Yeah, it's been a while since I've actually had to play some basketball with high usage. But yeah, we talk about basketball. We can get up to 100%. That's fine.
Very good. Lippy says, what else are you going to do tonight, Roth? Sit at home and watch the Weather Channel? Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. That was my game plan, but I don't know.
So when you're watching the Weather Channel, are you like, this guy's not very good?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Usually though, I'm like, oh, this person's they're really talented. They're really good. You know, on that level, most of them are really good. But then sometimes you see some people and you're just like, dude, you do not belong to be on the stage. But hey, we're not here to talk weather. We're here to talk about the hoops. And that's what we're going to do. So let's talk about it in general. Big slate, a lot of moving pieces. Can you give us a breakdown of what we need to wait for, or at least have in the back of our mind as we're building now, Noto?
Yeah, so big picture overview. A lot of key guys are missing. Like in the early games, we have Darius Garland, Evan Mobley out. So a lot of value, a lot of good plays on Cleveland. Then we have the Knicks situation. Mitchell Robinson, Miles McBride have been ruled out. Sounds like there's kind of an illness going through that locker room. So Jalen Brunson is a late add to the injury report. Josh Hart's dealing with an ankle injury, so he's questionable as well. So we could have a lot of good plays opening up on the Knicks. And then Dallas has some injuries. Cooper Flagg's questionable. Klay Thompson's questionable. So we got to keep an eye on that. And then, yeah, Yusuf Nurkic, who even if he's, upgraded to probable, he could get a DNP coach's decision. We've seen that happen before. But, if he plays, he's been awesome. And that game is probably my favorite game to stack on the slate because obviously the Warriors are without Jimmy Butler. Great matchup against the Jazz. So, yeah, we got a lot that we need to keep an eye on, which means if you're playing, it's not one of those like set it and forget it type of nights.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Well, we will be tweaking it, talking about it, and seeing what drops during the show because I assume we'll get something happening as we move through the show, Noto.
Yeah, most of the information we might get the Knicks news by lineup lock. The rest of it we're probably not going to get to after lock.
Okay. Well, if and when the news breaks, of course, we will bring it to you, and then we'll kind of figure out what we're going to do about it live while that's happening. Negative Creep said, what about that thick weather girl? Which one? Oh man, that made me laugh. All right, let's talk about let's go site by site, position by position. We'll start at DraftKings, go to point guard. I'll slide into the chat and answer his questions about the thick weather girl. We answer people's questions about DK point guard. What are we doing over there at the point?
Yeah, so DraftKings, a lot of good options here. My favorite, Stephen Curry. I know he doesn't see like a huge usage boost without Jimmy Butler in the lineup on the floor, but man, it's a great matchup against the Jazz. You get the pace-up nature of the game. And then the Jazz, they've allowed the second most three-point attempts per game, and they've allowed the highest three-point percentage of any team in the NBA. So we got just a perfect matchup for Stephen Curry. The form hasn't been great. Like he's only top 50 fantasy points 2 times in his last 13 games, but I think he gets there tonight. Pretty good price point. It's come down a little bit at $9K on DraftKings. He's my favorite. After that, there's just a bunch of plays that I don't feel super great about. Luka Doncic, if you want to pay up. I like the other side of that game and Donovan Mitchell, which we'll talk about in a minute. And I also like LeBron James a little bit more than Luka just because, he's going back to Cleveland. You got that narrative. So, yeah, outside of that, Derek White's fine. Josh Giddey's fine. We've seen his minutes slowly creep up a little bit. Giddey was priced, in the high 9s at one point, and he's only 7,800 in a nice matchup against the Pacers. He has been limited since coming back from injury, but he played 28 minutes the last time out, so he could get up to 29, 30 minutes in this one. And then we got to keep an eye on Jalen Brunson. So if he ends up being out, then we're going to get some value. Jordan Clarkson's probably going to become a must play at 3.2K. He's more shooting guard, small forward eligible, but just wanted to mention that because Brunson's a point guard and he's questionable. And then Kyle Murray was talking up DeAnthony Melton. I kind of like that a little bit. He's a guy that can get you 22 to 24 minutes. And obviously we're going to expect him to be more efficient in a nice matchup against the Jazz. That's really it for me. I mean, I don't mind looking at Keontae George in large field stuff. He's just a guy I love to play anytime he's on the slate because he's such a good fantasy producer. I mean, if you look at his game log, just 50s so often, and he's only 8,300 and 1% ownership right now. So I do like Keontae George in large field stuff.
Okay, very good. Let's go to shooting guard.
All right, Donovan Mitchell, my favorite play by far, 9,700. 3 straight games of 55 plus fantasy points. No Garland, no Evan Mobley. Let me pull up the little table real quick. Okay, so yeah, with those two off the floor, he sees a 5.3% usage boost, and then he averages 0.18 more fantasy points per minute. So a guy that's already a good per minute producer definitely sees a nice uptick with Garland and Mobley off the floor. So he's my favorite by far. Don't mind looking to Anthony Edwards now that he's in. I think that the fact that he was questionable for most of the day is going to keep his ownership down. 9,300, pretty good matchup against Dallas. He's had 50 plus in 3 of his last 4 games. You have Kevin Durant, who's been playing great. Nobody's been playing him in DFS. He's had 49 plus in 3 straight games. Not the best game environment. Houston and San Antonio, 2 of the better defensive teams on the slate, but it does give you access to that late game. He's really the only player in that final game that I have any interest in. If you want to look at Max Christie for tournaments, he's kind of caught fire recently, 32, 35, 40, and 36 over his last 4 games. As I talked about, Flag's questionable, as is Klay Thompson. So he could see, 35 minutes in this one. Brandon Williams, same thing, could see a huge boost if Cooper Flag's unable to go. And then if you want to get a little contrarian in that early game, I don't mind looking at Jalen Tyson. Again, no Garland, no Mobley. Tyson's got a high usage rate. He can put up points quickly, and just the fact that he's 6,600 is probably going to keep that ownership down.
Yeah. Okay. That brings us to small forward. What are you doing over there?
Man, I do miss the 3-man booth. I feel like I'm just talking.
It's rapid fire,
yeah.
And we might, I don't know if we're going to be able to stretch this to the end of the show, so we might end a little early, but also I don't want to leave people hanging if news breaks closer to the end. So we'll see. I don't know. We'll see what happens here. But let's go to small forward for now.
Yeah, I might have to fill in with some golf talk, some football talk, some weather talk.
Fake weather girls.
The NWA, we got lots to talk about. Okay, small forward. Really like Jaylen Brown. He's not my favorite spend overall, but he is my favorite spend at small forward. Just a guy that never gets the ownership he deserves. He's had 50 plus in 5 of his last 6 games. Atlanta's one of the better matchups on the board. They play at a fast pace. They give up a bunch of points. Their defensive efficiency is not great either. Brandon Miller, I'm not too high on Charlotte tonight. I know the matchup against Memphis is pretty good, but they're just a team that's tough for me to predict on a nightly basis, largely because LaMelo Ball, sometimes he has those big games, sometimes he doesn't. When he does have the big games, he cuts into the production of Knipple and Miller. 7,300 for a volatile player on the road. I don't love it, but he does project well. Talked about Durant and Jalen Tyson a little bit already. Jarace Walker on Indiana is certainly interesting. He's had 30 plus in 3 straight games. That game environment's probably one of the best on the slate. Chicago plays at a fast pace. They don't defend very well. Same goes for Indiana. So going to see a lot of extra possessions in that game. Then if you want to get a little bit different, Moses Moody at 5,200 against the Jazz. His recent game log doesn't look all that great, but he can fill up the stat sheet. And there's just going to be so many points and possessions to go around in that game against the Jazz. Only other guy, looks like we have Dean Wade projected for 20% ownership, which surprises me a little bit. Just not really a high ceiling guy. I'm probably okay being underweight on him tonight.
And if I heard right, Dean was talking about, is he in the first game as well, or at least earlier in the night?
Yeah, very first game, yeah.
So you're like, with so many pieces that could be moving and could be opening up, do you want to lock in a Dean Wade? And I think the answer is probably not. Let's go to power forward. What are we doing here?
Yeah, the thing with Wade is you're hoping for 24 maybe, but that might not even be good enough. So if he has the game you're hoping for, it still might not be enough.
Yeah.
Power forward, Al Horford's kind of leading the way. We haven't projected to show up in the optimal 40% of the time. Smash factor of 48. So his game log hasn't been good, but
yeah,
I do think.
Can we add him to the I'm not interested list? I
think he has more upside than Dean Wade, just because it's the Jazz. Yeah, he's been solid, like 24, 21, 26. If he gets you, I think he can get you 25 plus in this spot. We haven't projected for 30 fantasy points,
Okay.
which is kind of wild considering, he hasn't really hit that mark at all this season. I think he's had one 30-point game this season. So maybe we're a bit high on him, but it's a good value play, and it keeps your options open in case something else opens up and you can pivot to somebody from the Knicks or somebody from the Mavericks. Jalen Johnson's kind of going to be the forgotten superstar on the slate. I'm having a hard time getting to him, but anytime you get him a low ownership, he's certainly interesting. If you build multiple lineups, matchup against Boston's not great, but he can get you 60 in any matchup. If you're loading up on the Pacers and Chicago game, I think my favorite play from Indiana is Pascal Siakam, 50 plus in 2 of his last 3 games. And then doesn't seem like anybody wants to play the LeBron going back to Cleveland narrative. We have him at 2% ownership. I mean, from Akron, drafted by the Cavs, won a championship with the Cavs. I think he's going to get up for this game. Like at this point in his career, he's getting up for very few basketball games, right?
Yep.
And this could be one of his final games in Cleveland. So I kind of like him in tournaments. Draymond Green's fine in cash. Jarace Walker, who we talked about, is fine in cash. And then Dean Wade, if you need it, you can go there. He is probably going to be a little bit lower owned than Horford, but I still like Al.
Very good. I'm liking the LeBron narrative street here. Let's go to center. What are you doing over there?
Center, you do have Horford here. Wembanyama going up against the Rockets. I'm probably going to be underweight on him. Again, my favorite spends are going to be at the guard position. I like Stephen Curry. I like Donovan Mitchell, so I'm not really spending up on forward and center. For cash, my favorite's probably going to be Jared Allen. He sees a nice boost as well with Garland and Mobley off the floor. So his usage rate spikes 5%, which is pretty good for Jared Allen. And then his per minute production spikes 0.2 per minute. So you're getting much better efficiency. Don't mind the matchup against the Lakers. You have Siakam here. Karl Anthony Towns is kind of interesting. He's been very hit or miss recently, but no Mitchell Robinson. So I think his rebounding upside is a little bit higher. We could see Jalen Brunson being out. So I think his usage rate could spike as well. And then I currently have Nurkic tagged, but I tagged him before the marketing news, so I'm probably going to untag him by the end of the show. But do yourself a favor and look at his game log. The dude's been nuts and just triple doubles like every night. I think he's had 4 straight triple doubles. It's been wild, so might as well keep it going. The problem is you need to have a plan in place in case he doesn't suit up.
Okay, let's talk about if Brunson is out, how high up does Cat go on the list of wants here? Is he just another dude, or does he suddenly become a priority?
So he certainly becomes a better play. I mean, 8,300 is a pretty good price point, and it's not the best matchup against Toronto, but he's going to dominate usage. I mean, they still have Bridges, Hart, and Anunoby, but none of those guys really create their own shot. So I think the offense is going to flow through Towns. And then obviously you're going to have Jordan Clarkson. I think he's going to become the best value play, at least one of them on the board. Not really interested in anyone else on the Knicks, but I'll probably play some Towns and Clarkson if Brunson ends up being out.
Okay, very good. I want to kick it over to FanDuel real quick. We had a dinner question. We always prioritize dinner questions. Chicken noodle, chicken tortilla, or chicken gnocchi. Which soup is the best of these soups, Noto?
I have a feeling you're going to go with gnocchi. I'm going to go chicken tortilla. I like all 3, though.
I am with you on the chicken tortilla. I think it's got a little bit of flavor. The chicken noodle, no, that's only if you're sick. Chicken noodle's overrated. It's a 2 out of 10. But tortilla, that's where it's at. Okay, over to FanDuel. Is there any differences in the slate on FanDuel to DK, Noto?
Nope, same size at least, but some different price points.
Okay, well, let's dive into it. Start at point guard.
Yeah, so over here, Donovan Mitchell is point guard and shooting guard eligible. Probably still prefer him over as shooting guard, but pretty much most of the good plays are point guard, shooting guard eligible, so you don't really need to worry about that too much. Again, at home against the Lakers, I like the game environment. I like the skinny stack with Mitchell and LeBron. I think it's going to be pretty low owned. A lot of people are going to play Mitchell, but I don't think anybody's going to play LeBron with him. Then I like Stephen Curry quite a bit. Talked about it. It's the best 3-point matchup that you could possibly get. And we know Curry wants to shoot as many threes as he can possibly take. Outside of that, we've talked about Melton a little bit. I think Pods is interesting from the Warriors. He's going to be a lower owned option that we can get to in that game against the Jazz. Derek White's a guy that I just have a tough time playing. He's had less than 40 fantasy points in 7 straight games, and he's projecting a 25% ownership at 8,100. I know the matchup against Atlanta is really good, but I'm okay being underweight on Derek White. If you're playing somebody from Boston, I'd rather go with Anthony Simons. He's shown 8x type of upside, and it's a good matchup at home against Atlanta. Potentially a little bit of blowout run too if that game goes that way. And that'll probably do it. I'm not getting to much Luka over here. Not getting to Pritchard, DiVincenzo, not anymore now that Edwards is active.
Okay, very good. Shooting guard.
Yeah, shooting guard again. Clarkson's the guy that you definitely want to keep an eye on, just because if Brunson's out, he becomes an excellent play. He's 3,800 on FanDuel, probably even better value over on DraftKings at 3,200. Drew Smith for Miami. So they're missing Davion Mitchell. So we're projecting him for 23 minutes right now. He's a very good per minute producer. Not the best matchup at home against Orlando, but right now he's projecting as one of the better values over on FanDuel. You have Donovan Mitchell over here. I really like Jalen Tyson on FanDuel. You get the $500 discount from DraftKings, and he can get you 50. So the usage rate's going to be there without Mobley, without Garland. Probably my favorite mid-range option on FanDuel tonight. I talked about Simons. Jaylen Brown's good, but he's probably a better point per dollar guy over on DraftKings. Moses Moody, 4,700. That's a really good price point for a guy that's going to play 26 to 28 minutes against the Jazz. I think if I'm deciding between the cheapies for Golden State, I'm going to go with Horford and Melton over on DraftKings, and I'm going to go with Moody on FanDuel. See if there's anybody else down here ways. Probably not going to be playing any of the Orlando guys, even with Wagner out. I just don't love that game environment as a whole. Even though it's a pace-up spot for Orlando, they're just not projecting that well tonight.
Yeah. Okay. How about small forward?
Yeah, so we have 2 Cleveland guys leading the way in terms of the RG values. We actually don't have a single player with a positive RG value on FanDuel, a small forward. But I like Jalen Tyson, and then I like Tomlin. Tomlin's been awesome on a per-minute basis. He's only 3,800. And, yeah, if he plays 25 minutes, he might get you 30. I talked about Moody, Jaylen Brown. Neesmith's a guy that I don't mind playing if you are in need of somebody just to fill out lineups with or fill out rosters with, because he's going to play 30 minutes against the Bulls, and that's always a good thing. LeBron, once again, 14% ownership over here, so a little bit higher, but still one of my favorite tournament plays in a return to Cleveland. Max Christie, Kevin Durant. I'm just not getting to a lot of different guys here, but a lot's going to change based on some injury news that comes out.
Yeah. Okay. Power forward.
Power forward, you have Jared Allen. He's probably my favorite play on the board. 6,300. Again, I talked about it. 5% usage boost without Garland and Mobley. Also sees a 0.20 fantasy point per minute boost, which is massive. I like Siakam. Julius Randle's been fine, pretty high floor, but now that Minnesota is expected to be at full strength, I'm probably not going to get to a ton of Julius Randle. Tomlin's here as well. You have Dean Wade's even cheaper on FanDuel at 4K. Just don't want to lock up a spot that early for a guy that doesn't have a ton of upside. I'd probably rather, wait out for one of the later games. LeBron's here. Jaren Jackson is a guy that I don't mind looking to in tournaments. He's going to get you 25 or 45. And, Edie's out, John Morant's out, Brandon Clark's out. So you got to think Jaren Jackson's going to have his opportunities in a pretty good matchup against Charlotte. And then Towns, if Brunson's out, he's gonna definitely see a nice uptick in his projection.
Did get a question about Mo Wagner from Lippy. I don't know if he's small or power forward. I'm not sure what position he is over on FanDuel. But are you playing him at apparently 3.5? I don't know if that's FanDuel or DK.
It must be DK. He's 3.9 on FanDuel. I don't know. He hasn't played more than 15 minutes since coming back from injury. He is a guy that I like to play when Orlando's shorthanded, but not any injuries in their front court right now. So I'm probably going to be off of him, but he could definitely get you 20. I just don't know if that's going to be enough with some of the other values on the slate.
Well said. All right, let's go to center.
All right, let's go. Horford is more fadeable on FanDuel, in my opinion, just because he's only center eligible, and we only get to play one center over on FanDuel. On DraftKings, he's the best value at power forward and center, so you can play him at either spot and still feel pretty good about it. But so he is the best RG value 4.2. Again, we haven't projected for 29 fantasy points. It's a really good per dollar projection. But yeah, if you're looking to get a little different, you can go Siakam, you can go Vucevic. He's been playing really well. He's had 40 plus in 4 of his last 5 games. Talked about Jaren Jackson and large field stuff. And then Nurkic at 8K. I don't think anybody's going to play Nurkic tonight just because he's questionable and Markkanen's active now. Like he was projecting as a top point per dollar option earlier in the day, and now we're having him at 1% ownership for a guy that's had 47 plus in 7 of his last 8 games.
Wow. Okay. We still have 19 minutes until we hit the lock. We want to get a lot of these questions that are being asked. We want to get those answered. And producer Steve, I don't know if you saw it, trying to draw up a little tier list if you think that's possible. We'll see. If we need to kill a bit of time, we can make that happen. But let's start grabbing some of these QQs. Of course, looking in the Discord. Oh, look at that. He's on it. We'll answer a few questions, and then we're going to rank our teams in order of soups because, I don't know, we had a soup question. Gumbo, obviously the best soup. New England clam chowder, pretty damn good. Tomato bisque, it's fine in the right scenario. Chicken noodle, almost never good, but useful if you're sick. And then vegetable soup, I don't know any type of psychopath that would ever order or eat vegetable soup. And I hope I'm not alone in that, Noto. You
don't like chicken noodle, huh?
It's fine. It's fine. No, it's not better than fine, though. It's my list, Noto. These are my rules. We got to play by them.
I like a good homemade chicken noodle, but yeah, gumbo number 1. I agree with you.
Yeah. Oh God, I love a good gumbo. Okay, let's see what we got. We're gonna start with some questions.
We just got Josh Hart officially says he is going to try to play tonight, and Brunson is game time decision.
Ugh.
But the quote is, "I'm going to try and play tonight," so I don't know how much we love that.
Clear as mud.
Yeah. Noto, any thoughts on that? Hart, Brunson, does that do anything for you?
Oh, not really. I don't want Hart, and the big news for me is going to be the Brunson news.
All right, so we will continue to wait, to monitor, and to see what happens, see if we get any. Yeah, Alan says, so the update is there is no update, and that's kind of, pretty much. They gave us an update on 2 guys, and we still don't know if they're going to play.
So it does look like Josh Giddey is going to start. He's been coming off the bench since returning from injury. So we had him projected at 28, 29 minutes. Well, I'll be interested to see if they bump him up a little bit. I do think he's more viable on DraftKings now.
Okay, very good. Let's get to some of these QQs. Got one from Arlo coming in. Noto, DK Cash. I'm struggling with my last 3 spots. Brandon Williams, Melton, and Miller, or Clarkson, Gobert, and Draymond.
Obviously, that's going to depend on the Brunson news. So I would probably plug in the first one, and then just depending on what happens, you can go Clarkson. If Brunson's out, you just got to play Clarkson. So just keep those options open and then kind of make a last-minute decision.
Okay. Noto, DKGPP from D-Rock, your favorite power forward, 6,500 or cheaper?
DraftKings, you said?
I believe so. Yeah, DKGPP, power forward, 6,500 or less.
It's not a great price point. We have Miles Bridges projected for the highest fantasy points in that range. I would probably, I don't know, maybe go down to Horford and look to upgrade elsewhere, or Tomlin. I just don't love that price point. Or even Jarace Walker, I think, is interesting at 5,200. So if you can, I would rework your lineup a little bit to get a different guy in there.
Okay. Carolina guy says your favorite GPP spend up, also your favorite low owned value. This is both for FanDuel. So your favorite GPP spend up and your favorite low owned value on a FanDuel GPP.
Yeah, so I like Mitchell and Curry the best. They're probably not going to be low owned by any means. So if you want to go really low owned, I like Nurkic at 1% ownership, and then low owned value play. Mm-hmm. Is that the second part of the question?
Yep.
I'm going to go. All my favorite guys aren't necessarily low owned. I'll go with Jarace Walker. I was just talking about him. The minutes have been trending up. He's played at least 29 minutes in 3 straight games. He's averaged 36 fantasy points during that stretch, and can't ask for much of a better matchup than the Bulls.
Okay, very good. FanDuel cash question for you. By the way, if you're watching this and you're trying to remember how much you paid Noto to give you this info, you didn't. He's doing this for free out of the kindness of his own heart. He's getting paid for RotoGrinders, but that's irrelevant. The point is, all we ask of you is that you hit the thumbs up for us. It's at the bottom of your screen. Hit the like or take a hike. We appreciate that. We want to get this to as many people as possible, and your thumbs up helps.
Wait, RotoGrinders is paying you for this?
Oh, yeah, I'm getting paid. Yeah. FanDuel cash question. Chris wonders, Noto, if it's smart to not play a few guys from the 7 o'clock games. Who do you think you'll lock from the 7 o'clock games? You got Mitchell, Allen, Tomlin, Siakam, Tyson. They're all kind of popping. Who would you play?
Yeah, I'm locking in Mitchell. And then on FanDuel, I'm probably locking in Jared Allen too. DraftKings, I'm going to take a hard look at Giddey from the Bulls. I'm probably not locking in anybody from Indiana, but I like Walker in tournaments. And then, LeBron again. Nobody's going to play him, especially with it since it's that first game. So if you're building a few lineups, get a LeBron lineup or two.
Yeah, I approve of that. All right. Yep, that's me, says Noto. I want to play Luka, Steph, and Mitchell all in the same lineup, but I need some value guys so that I can pull a Roth and, just straight up stars and scrubs. That's how I build them. I never win that way, but it's more fun that way. Noto, what are the best value plays to make a Luka, Steph, Mitchell lineup happen? DK.
Let me just see what the optimizer spits out. So if you lock those 3 guys, you got Okoro, Al Horford, Amari Williams, who might start tonight for Boston, Drew Smith, and Zion James. Like that's rough. I think maybe you go LeBron instead of Luka, and then you can upgrade some of the other guys. Yeah. But if Brunson's out, then I guess Luka becomes more viable because Kolek and Clarkson both become solid options. But then at the same time, you're already locking in 3 of your guard spots, so you're only going to be able to play one of them.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, we got some news. Cooper Flagg and Klay Thompson both out.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that's opening up some value, right?
So yeah, Brandon Williams going to be an awesome play. Max Christie's been pretty solid already, so I think he's interesting now. They're obviously without Anthony Davis too. We have Caleb Martin projected to start at the moment at 4,100. He's been serviceable over the last 6 games. Yeah, so I think you can play quite a few of these Dallas guys. Still a bad matchup against Minnesota, but
I mean, that's everyone on their team that can score as out, right? AD, Flagg, and Thompson.
Yeah.
So who are your favorites? As you're looking at that lineup, who are your favorite dudes to play on Dallas, and where do they rank compared to some of this other value we were talking about earlier?
I'm going to go Brandon Williams as my favorite, especially if he starts. I think he's going to be an awesome play. He's been pretty solid anytime he's been given minutes this season. And we already had him projected for 25 fantasy points before the Flagg and Thompson news. So I think he's going to see a nice boost. And then I'll probably go Kristi as the next best play, followed by Caleb Martin. But man, this lineup is going to be bad tonight.
Yeah, which we like and we need because there are a lot of good dudes to spend up on. Our guy Butthole Jenkins says Jordan Clarkson season. Is it Jordan Clarkson season?
Might be. We'll find out here any minute now.
Okay. We talked about Giddey starting. Is that just okay? Now you want to play Giddey? Is there anything else we need to know about that? Is he making your lineups?
So I haven't updated my lineup yet, but I was already considering him, and now I'm definitely more considering him just because he hasn't played more than 28 minutes since coming back from injury. And now that he's back in the starting lineup, you got to think, maybe the staff feels good about him playing 30. And if he gets to 30, he's a great option at 7,800.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Curry and Horford or Draymond and Bam? Cinzia pointing out Bam has killed Orlando every matchup this year. It's a DK GPP. Curry, Horford, or Draymond and Bam?
Yeah, I'm always tentative to put too much stock into specific results against the team, especially if it's not like a revenge game or anything like that. So I'm going to go with Curry and Horford, and I feel pretty good about that side.
Okay, great. Any love for the Nard dog, Luke Kennard?
I don't think we need him. Against Boston, that's kind of a tough spot for him.
Yeah, okay. Any Scotty Barnes tonight from Allen?
Not for me. I don't love that game as a whole. And now that Toronto's healthy, other than Hurdle, it's kind of a tough spot for him.
Okay. I've seen a few people bring up Kolek. Is this a pending news situation with Kolek?
Yeah, so he'll probably start if Brunson's out. So he'll probably start, and then Clarkson will probably see big boost off the bench.
And are you interested in Kolek if he's starting, or you still just want to play Clarkson off the bench because he freaking chucks?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to play both of them, and I do like that Clarkson's small forward eligible on DraftKings. So if you are playing that Luka, Mitchell, Curry lineup, you're probably going to need Brunson to be out for it to work.
Yeah. And
so Luke Kennard was in the 6-pack. That's
okay.
Keep in mind he records these before any injury news.
Yeah,
he's been solid. I'll give him that. Kennard. I
thought you meant beer. I was like, of course.
Beer's always solid.
Yeah.
6-pack is always solid. But yeah,
let's see. Lippy says on DK, Cam Spencer or Castle.
I don't love either, but I will go with Castle.
Okay. That also answers Jim's question in the Discord, which was Cam Spencer thoughts. And your answer is you don't love him.
I mean, he's fine. 6,400. He's been pretty good recently. I don't hate the matchup against Charlotte. I just don't find myself getting there, just given how big the slate is.
Yeah. Okay. Anger says, will Capella get more run in this matchup?
Maybe. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Probably just going to depend on foul trouble for Şengün, and I don't really like to count on that. So I think he's going to just see his usual 12 to 15 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Darren says, FanDuel GPP Noto, if Brunson is out, would you prefer Curry, Horford, Moody, or Clarkson, Kristi, Cat?
Curry, Horford, Moody, Clarkson, Kristi, Cat.
Yeah.
That's tough. I would try to find a way to get Curry, Clarkson, and somebody else. But if I have to choose between those options, I'm going to go with the Cat side.
Yeah. Okay. D Mills 24. Is that Davis Mills? What's Davis Mills' number? Şengün or LeBron on FanDuel?
Man, I like LeBron tonight. I'm a sucker for narratives, so I'm going LeBron.
Davis Mills is number 10. I was disappointed. Sorry. I thought we had a Davis Mills sighting in our YouTube. AD. Oh, no. It's just some news. Najee Marshall, right? Isn't he kind of the last guy on Dallas that can score?
Yeah, I probably should have brought him up. So the usage rate's been great. It's been at least 22% in 8 straight games, and it's going to be even higher tonight. So I do like Marshall. Not a good matchup, but you got to think he could see like 30% usage rate tonight.
Yeah. Any of these Dallas guys a priority for you in DK Cash, Noto? And I know this is kind of breaking and you got to figure it out on the fly, but what are your thoughts?
Brandon Williams is, and then Marshall and Kristi close seconds. But I think if I'm picking one guy from Dallas, it's Brandon Williams.
Okay. Keith says in a DK GPP, what do you think about Luka, LeBron, Mitchell, and Tyson as a game stack core? Luka, LeBron, Mitchell, and Tyson.
Man, I feel like you're not going to have any salary left. So I don't like playing Luka and LeBron together.
Yeah.
It's just like you're capping your upside there.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But if you pick one of them and play him with Mitchell, and Tyson, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Okay. Pritchard or Marshall in a DK GPP. By the way, you're killing this, Noto. We only have about 4 minutes left. Good stuff.
I'm going to go Marshall over Pritchard.
Okay.
I saw a question about golf course. Yes, if you're playing Showdown, North Course, you want the North Course tomorrow. Golf.
What does that even mean? What does that mean?
There's 2 courses this week. So half the field plays one course, half the field plays the other tomorrow, and then they flip it on Friday. And so the easier course, you want the guys on the easier course, and should play like 2 strokes easier than the South Course.
Is the North Course always easier than the South Course?
Yeah, it's like 600 yards shorter. Fairways are wider. Greens are bigger.
But if they're close enough that the weather, I only made one weather forecast. Is why I'm
all
asking.
the same Torrey Pines property.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's good. Like, oh, I may have to double down, relook at things. All right. By the way, the weather is not an issue. It's freaking La Jolla. The weather is insanely nice. So I don't expect that's going to matter. Thoughts on Luka Garza as a low-cost center in a single-entry DK tournament?
I don't hate it without Keita. So, I mean, he hasn't shown much upside. I don't love it, but I don't hate it.
Yeah. Okay. Got a few more questions in the Discord. By the way, if you haven't hit the thumbs up on YouTube, we're running out of time. Hit the thumbs up for us. DKGPP, Giddy Tyson or Kristi Braun for you, Noto?
Ooh, I'm going to go Giddy and Tyson.
Okay. Brown or Braun, FanDuel GPP?
Brown or who?
Braun. LeBron.
Oh, I thought you were Christian.
I know. That's why I reset it. Yeah.
Brown or Braun? I mean, I like LeBron. I'm going to stick with it.
Okay. Would you play Curry and George together in a FanDuel GPP, Noto?
For sure.
DK GPP from Luke, Wendell Carter, or Jack Landale?
I mean, I think the projection's like WCJ, so I'm going to go with that, but I'm not on either one tonight.
Okay. Bean says, what are your thoughts on Craig Porter tonight, Noto?
He's always a guy that can get there when, Mitchell or Garland is out. So I don't hate it. He's not my favorite value, but I don't hate it.
Thomas says, Hardy punt. Is Hardy the Mavs backup guard when the starting guard's out? Is that?
Yeah, he used to be like the DFS hero a couple years ago. Hasn't been the case so much this year, even with all their injuries, but he's had a couple big games. So if you're playing, I kind of like him like on the shorter slate. Like if you're playing the late slate or something, I'd probably use him there.
Yeah. I feel like they sometimes do a thing where just whichever guard is playing better, they just let play. So maybe if he gets hot, they'll be like, all right, you're gonna get the 30+ minutes.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Brown over Mitchell as a spend up with small forward being so bad? So to cover up a bad position, going Brown over Mitchell, even though we do love Mitchell.
Yeah, I don't mind it. It's definitely a worse position than guard. So it will probably give you a unique roster construction too, because we have Brown at 13%. So I don't mind that. But again, Clarkson's going to be small forward eligible. So if Brunson's out, then probably don't have to worry about it.
Okay. Jim says, is Hart playing? If not, who? Hart said he's going to try to play. All right, that was the wording. I feel like that means he's going to play, right?
Yeah, he's one of those guys that doesn't miss a lot of games, even when he's a little nicked up. So
yeah,
I think he'll play.
DK Cash, is it just play Mitchell and Allen in the first game? Is Merrill or Wade not in play for you?
We talked about it. I like Horford over Wade. Merrill, I'm not really on him tonight. We don't have him projected all that well. So for me, it's Mitchell. And then Allen, I'm okay with him. I'm okay without him. I like him more on FanDuel a little bit, but I think they're both fine.
Okay, we'll get to Hammer's comment in a minute. We're less than a minute from lock. FanDuel single entry from Boney, OG and Moody, or Tyson and Kristi?
Number 2.
Your favorite DK captain, Lakers versus Cavs, if you're playing single game.
I don't know the price points over there, but in terms of the guy that I think can break the slate that's not Donovan Mitchell, I'm going to go LeBron.
Okay. We got a golf question from J3. And since we're basically at lock, we'll take it. Can you play Xander and Aberg in single entry with a nice punt like Charlie Hoffman?
Oh, man, I haven't played Hoffman in years. So you can, just because the pricing's so soft. I'd probably rather stay in the 7K range, like the low 7s if you're playing Ludwig and Xander together. But also saw some comments about there being a bee bite on the golf course.
I was going to read you that. This girl got taken away in an ambulance off the golf course because she got, he says, stung by a bee between the first and second hole.
Is this like an inside joke, or did this happen?
Yeah, right. It seems like the start of a joke, but I think probably that is a real thing that happened. I don't know. All right.
And it's a bee bite, not a sting?
Well, I don't think so. I think he conflated those two things. Guess what? Guess what you did?
We made it.
You made it. That's
all. So we made it.
Brunson is available, by the way.
That's right at 5.
Brunson is in. So that means no Kolick for you. That means no. Who's the other guy?
That's no Knicks. No Knicks for me.
All right. So
That's good for my Knicks bet before all these guys are getting ruled out.
let's go. Apparently this is a joke. I guess this is some sort of, I don't know, it's still over my head, but that's fine.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, guess what? We're going to clear it out of here. Noto, excellent work. 100% usage, 100% true shooting percentage as well. Good job, man.
Yeah. Next time I'm on, they need to explain this joke to me.
Yeah. All right. We'll figure it out. I'll use AI. As always, excellent working with you. Good luck, not just with some hoops, but with the golf tournament going on as well. Everybody at home, guys, we appreciate you. We love you, and we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.